Hey everyone, it's Violet Starkiller. Well, now I'm known as VO Starkiller, but whatever. It's VO Starkiller now. So, anyways, this is a video I really have to put together. Didn't want to, but have to. Because, well, this is a video regarding the future of Prophecy of the Sages. So, without any further ado, I'm just gonna say it right here. Prophecy of the Sages, it's no longer going to be an animated series. I'm gonna repeat that again. It will no longer be an animated series. Instead, however, it will become a comic. I did post something like that earlier in the community tab, and a few of you were okay with it, but I thought a video would be more convenient because subscribers turn to videos the most instead of the community tab. Not saying that the community tab is not any better, but still. And if you're wondering why I'm turning this into a comic, that's something that I'm not taking lightly, nor is it something that I made on a whim. And they say everything happens for a reason, and in my case, I have several, in which I'm going to state starting now. Alright, reason number 1. The format as an animated series itself. What started as something exciting in the beginning gradually turned into something like a chore, and in this case, it was a long one. If you don't know what I mean, it means that I started losing motivation to draw even just a couple of frames. And in extreme cases, I didn't want to draw just one frame. Even though I had put together a schedule in which there are days in which I should work on Prophecy of Sages, and then there are days in which I should work on The Entity, which is another comic that I am currently working on. As for Prophecy of Sages becoming a comic, stylistically speaking, it will not look the same as The Entity. The Entity is pretty much very detailed, and because it's fantasy, there are certain things that require excessive detail. But for Prophecy of the Sages as a comic, it will become more like a manga style. In other words, it'll be like black and white or grayscale. And the characters will also be stylishly drawn instead of semi-realistically styled. And if you put that into perspective, it gives me a lot of time to actually finish the story itself. Which would lead me to the next reason, time, which is the biggest reason of all. You have to be aware that it takes a lot of time to even put a 5-second animation. If you put into account the program you're using, what style you're drawing in, the amount of time you're putting in, the sketching, the dynamics of the animation, etc., etc. And well, if I continued Prophecy of the Sages as an animated series, I would be almost 50 years of age if I finished this. I did the math myself, so let's say if I took a year to finish every episode. The original script is 24 episodes long, so if you put it that way, it would take around 23 years to finish, not including the first episode in which I had already finished. I started this story when I was around middle school age. Currently, I'm a senior in college, and around next year I will be graduating and then looking for a job because I need to have the resources to be able to even live. But if I switched Prophecy of the Sages into a manga style comic and updated twice or 3 times a week, then the results will come out a lot faster. Now, I know what you're thinking. What if it gets in the way of The Entity? Well, no need to worry about that, because like I said, it's going to be stylishly different compared to that of The Entity. It was hard enough managing both a comic and an animated series at the same time. And I know a couple of artists who have actually made 2 comics at the same time, and I'm kind of impressed on how well they planned their schedules forward. So I guess maybe I could do the same. though I'm gonna have to do a little careful planning if I want to get into that. But it's alright because making comic has been my childhood dream and I really want to do this for a living. Okay, reason number 3, the story itself. I feel like I rushed in the script writing part of the process. I mean, I feel like because of that, I ended up putting in too many cliches to the point where it actually became to the point where it actually became a cliche story. Not that there's anything wrong with putting in cliches, but if you put in too many of those, it'll make the story more predictable, and that's what happened in my case. Like I said earlier, I was a teenager when I started writing it, early teens, because I was in middle school then. So I didn't know then what I know now about the common tropes of animated series. Now that I'm older, I became aware of some things that I really want to correct, like the death of Naoto's parents in the beginning and the basic power of friendship. If you're not sure what it is, it's pretty much at the end of what story you can think of when it comes to this, like fairy tale. Like just as the main protagonist is running out of energy, trying to combat a very scary, powerful villain, some friends drop by to help the main protagonist, and ultimately with that, the villain is defeated, thanks to the power of friendship. So anyways, because the script was written hastily, this was where comparisons to another series came in. Sounds toxic, I know, but still. As I looked over the script, I noticed that there are also some plot holes that I want to fix, and I really want to develop this setting more because I feel like it wasn't as developed as I would have wanted it. And if you don't really know, the setting actually takes place during the Ice Age when Smilodons and direwolves existed. So yeah, pretty much most of the story I really want to correct. As for the characters themselves, there will be character design changes as well as stylistic changes, because like I said earlier, I will give stylistic changes to the characters to make them look more unique from one another. Like for example, in this rough character sheet, which I'm putting here now, it's about it's of a revamped Naoto who will be renamed Altoum. Yeah, I'm gonna rename most of the characters also, as well as the title of Prophecy of the Sages. I'm gonna rename that as well to make it sound more vague, but also still relative to the story itself. So yeah, as for Altoum's character design, he will still have the silky, smooth fur with the additional long tail and gill lines in which he may obtain. I don't know. I'm still working on that since, like I said, this character sheet is still very rough. And yeah, the sages will no longer have unnatural colors. Instead, I will give them more realistic designs while still retaining the characteristics in which make them stand out from one another. Okay, the final but not least reason, and that's the reason which clicked me into making this decision without looking back. In other words, it made me like, this is it. There's no going back. And this is bringing back the Entity. I've worked on the Entity comic longer than I have ever worked on Prophecy of the Sages. And because it was my dream of making comics all this time, I feel like making the Entity more than my other stories, it just made me think it doesn't feel worth it to work on the animated series anymore. So, yeah. Quick interruption of this video, but Another reason, well, not a reason, but I feel like it would have affected my channel as a whole, but YouTube has just made changes in the rating of our channels, like whether it's family friendly or not. Don't ask me why, because YouTube already has a like a site for kids. But if you really want to know more, just do a little research. But yeah, that's another thing that I wanted to point out quickly. That pretty much sums up everything I've got to say for now. I really wanted to get this out of my chest. To be honest, this video was really hard to put together because, well, first of all, I fear that I may end up saying the wrong thing and that it might get people the wrong idea. So, yeah, conclusion, it wasn't really easy to put together. However, this does not mean that I will give up on animation. I really love animating as well as making videos. It's just that I have to put myself as well as my subscribers and family into consideration when it comes to production and timing of my content. I'm still going to do map parts, possibly in the future, though the map parts I will be doing will be for friends and not just for anyone. And I really got a lot of stories that I want to put together and release, but I have to prioritize both the Entity and Prophecy of Sages. Or what used to be Prophecy of Sages. Thank you all for supporting me and standing by me, even when I was at my not so 100%. And I really hope that you accept my decision. But if you can't, well, sorry, but you'll have to. Well, anyways, as for the production of this comic, I'm probably not gonna start until like the beginning of 2020, maybe later. I don't know. Like I said earlier, I'm gonna have to do a little careful planning. So anyways, this is Vio Starkiller signing out.